Welcome to the Magnetic Mama Club. I'm Alyssa, energy healer, spiritual soulpreneur, and mindful mama, here to help you reconnect with your soul's purpose and show up as the most authentic version of yourself. In this space, you're part of a community of conscious mamas who trust their intuition and own their magnetic desires. Together, we'll explore how to honor your needs, mother with clarity, and embrace your authentic power. Your journey to a more empowered magnetic life starts now. Welcome back to Magnetic Mama Club. I'm your host, Alyssa, and I'm so glad you're here today to listen to this episode with Lauren Magenta. Lauren got her start in the corporate world as a producer for lifestyle brands like Martha Stewart Living, Refinery29, and Spoon University. And as her career grew, so did her passion for brand storytelling and social strategy. In 2018, she started a boutique creative service catering to big brands with big stories to tell. Since then, she has worked with 150 plus brands to tell their stories through video content production and social storytelling. In summer 2023, she launched Own Your Brand, a 6-week group mentorship program that packages nearly 2 decades of video production expertise into bite-sized, customized strategies for women-owned small businesses that recently was featured by Google Workspace. She is such a powerhouse mom and such an inspiration to me. We connected years ago on social media when I was in the more lifestyle foodie world. And I love this conversation because as a creator myself, I have worked with brands in this capacity, different how she works with the brands that she represents, but we both have really similar entrepreneurial spirit and parenting styles. And although she has children who are a bit older than mine, she really talks to what it was like when she had a baby at my age while shifting her career, while creating this business model, and how she's able to do both and find the balance and show up authentically and really show her children what it's like and what it means to not only do something that is fulfilling with your life and your work, but also to help others and what that looks like in terms of success and the ripple effect that it's creating for women-owned brands. We dive into so many different topics, whether you're in corporate or you're starting out your own brand. This conversation is so great and beneficial for anyone listening. So excited for you to hear. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited. I don't even remember when we connected, but I definitely was a few years ago on Instagram, pre-babies, pre-motherhood.
Pandemic, weren't we at an event together?
I feel like that was like when I was in more of the food space.
Okay. I mean, I was for sure in the food space. I think we met at an event.
We definitely did. I feel like it was one of the food 50, like a big food thing. I don't remember exactly what, but
checks out for me.
Yeah, and we live close by to each other, which we don't see each other enough, but so I'm glad we're able to at least do a Zoom call and see each other's faces, but we're close by. And I want to get into the show, just learning more about what your motherhood and parenting style is. This could be a way you describe yourself as a mom. It could be the type of parent that you know, how you parent and raise your child. It could be one word, a sentence, whatever that means for you.
Ooh, that's very interesting. I think that the way that we parent our children, I don't know if I have a word for this, but like we have always treated them like adults. Since they were little girls, we have spoken to them like they were adults. And this is feedback we get from friends like, oh, I don't see parents doing this, but I feel like we've never truly babied them. And if you met my 5-year-old or when you meet her, she is just the most mature little person on the planet. And I think that is the way we parent our kids. I don't know what the type of parenting that is or if there's a name, but we do treat our daughters like they are tiny adults, tiny humans.
I'm definitely trying to be similar in that regard where I don't necessarily go to all the baby classes. I like to bring them along. I like to bring my baby along to what I'm doing and what I'm enjoying. So I feel like similar in one regard there.
100%. We always said, I was very nervous. Oh, will we be able to take our kids to restaurants or what was our lifestyle? And literally, I feel like your children do what they know. And that's just what we've always done. We go to restaurants. Honestly, they don't do screens at restaurants. They play games. They look at the menu because that's kind of what we've taught them all these years. So yes, I think also just sharing your life and your experience in a way that they can understand and explain things to them has always been so, so important to us.
Great. I want to circle back to that in the later part of the show of how you have done that, because
I'm getting into the age where like I am.
She's understanding.
Yeah, she's understanding everything. Me and my husband are like, okay, we have to stop cursing now. Like to like actually talk really consciously. And that is the hardest part about parenting is the consciousness. Like you have to think before you do anything. She's just observing so much. And I don't know, it's crazy. But especially with like bringing her to restaurants and like not wanting to have tablets yet, like I definitely want to hear how you've done all of that. So we'll get.
Oh, I have lots of thoughts on that. Yeah.
Especially someone in the content space similar where like we're on our devices all the time. So hard. So tell me more about your background, how you got started. I know you come from a background working with Martha Stewart Living and Refinery 29, like really amazing, experience. And I'm obsessed with Martha Stewart recently. She's
Who isn't obsessed with her,
I
right?
know. But I feel like I recently like realized how incredible she is and like she's an icon. So I'd love to hear your journey of, how you went from that industry into creating your own brand, into your own, work that you've been doing as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, my first job out of college was Martha. I was there for 3+ years and she is an icon. I have always been obsessed with her, obviously. And then working with her was absolutely one of the most enlightening things for someone who knew very young that I wanted to work for myself and build my own brand. I think seeing someone I think she was in her 70s when I was there, still at work if she wasn't traveling 4 days a week, the way the office was set up, magazines would be kind of pinned on boards in your aisle. And she would be constantly walking through, checking the magazines, checking the work, checking the product. And in my case, the video team, which has been my focus, which we'll get into, like she would be checking in meetings. And I have a very vivid memory of wanting to do these neon dyed eggs. I got called, she was coming to my desk and she was like, I've done, dozens of egg dyeing videos. We don't need another one. And I had to like defend my decision as a producer. I was like, we need vibrant, we need color, we need shot for social. And she kind of said, well, it better perform. And thank goodness it literally got hundreds of thousands of views. But I just think she was such a great example of what it looks like to build a brand that is your name, that is something that you stand for. I think you're very good at doing that as well. But like standing behind what your brand is really about was a lesson that I learned at the beginning of my career that I carry through with me every day. I took through the other big companies that I worked for. I was at Refinery for a couple of years, a small food startup, which got acquired by Food Network. And I just spent my time at these companies building internal talent and helping them build their brands. And then inevitably, which I'm sure we'll talk about today, I knew that to be the type of mother I wanted to be, I would have to work for myself. I knew I would always be a career working parent, but the style of parent I wanted to be, I assumed the flexibility might not be there if I kept climbing that corporate ladder. So then I built my own company and I help brands own their brand on social. How do I marry all the strategy I learned from corporate to a social expertise? Because I think that's what's missing a lot with small brands is where's the strategy, the planning for the social content to perform, and how do they own their brand, if you will?
I love that. We have such similar, also different backgrounds because you're more, I feel like, on the video side. I'm just starting to get into video, but not anywhere on the scale that you are. And it's been so fun watching your brand over the years just evolve. Similarly, like always had that in the back of my mind of when I do have a family one day, I want to have that flexibility. I want to have that freedom. And I think that like a lot of moms now are like the way that the world is working, the pandemic, what have you, everything has kind of shifted with being able to do things at home on your own. I guess that answered my question of what inspired you to become an entrepreneur. Was it the family aspect of the flexibility and freedom? And with that, how has that played into the type of parent you are when it comes to finding balance between having a career of your own was your baby first and then really being the present mom that you are?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my first small business was when I was 12 years old, and it was photography actually, and I did stationary photo cards and I would sell them, weekends at events and craft fairs. And for a 12-year-old to want to do that, I think just speaks to an entrepreneurial spirit, right? I have that in my bones. I wanted to work. My first job was at a bakery. Like I loved that. So I think always in me, I knew I liked working. I liked earning for myself very young. And I guess once I assume as I got older, I realized, okay, there are these avenues you can take in life. I just knew in my core, I mean, this sounds dramatic, but like for my mental health, for my everything like I was a working woman, that I would build a brand that I could share with the world. So as I got older and as I would say started climbing the corporate ladder, my boyfriend, fiance, and now husband, I would say things like, hey, I'm always going to work. Like, just want that on the table. I will always work. And I guess I realized the only way to do that in the way that I wanted to as a parent was to build my own company. So I left. It was essentially Scripps Network, which was the Food Network team, right before I found out I was pregnant with Avery, because I remember saying to my husband, like, if I do not leave now, I don't know if I'll take that risk. Once I have kids, I have a chronic illness, there are medical bills, like all these things. I just remember saying out loud, if I do not leave before I'm pregnant, I might not be willing to take that risk and have kids and start my own business. And it all happened at one time. Now you asked how does being an entrepreneur impact me as a mother?
Yeah. And how do you find, I guess, boundaries between, how you show up you're your own boss, essentially. And I think you and your husband work together.
No, we don't.
Oh, I don't know why I thought
we work together.
Okay, but I guess in the sense of like, yeah, how do you have those boundaries? I know your kids are a little bit older, so they're in school and you kind of can separate maybe, but when they were younger specifically, and still like now at the age they're still young and need you. How do you find that balance?
Yes. Well, that is always a work in progress, I will say. I think when I was in your shoes, when the kiddos were 1 and 2, I did struggle with the juggle. But I think what I realized was, and I'm in a much more content place, I know exactly what I'm doing, but I think the journey through those postpartum years, Avery's 5, Skylar's 2.5, I breastfed each of them for a whole year, right? So it's like, it wasn't just that I had a kid and moved on. It was then a year of working and pumping and feeding and taking these breaks. I think a quote I heard once, and let me know if you heard this, was, when you're balancing and juggling, it's realizing what is rubber and what is glass.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
I heard this recently and I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah. So me too. I think in the early years, I felt like everything was glass. Everything, if I wasn't parenting correctly, that was bad. And if I wasn't writing my pitch decks and getting clients, that was bad. But I think the thing I learned along my journey was when I was with the kids, I had guilt that I wanted to be building a business or working harder. And then when I was at my desk, I wanted to be with my kids. And I think what I learned was that since I was yearning for both, that I was actually in the right place, that I just had to generally find that balance, because it's not like I was doing one, hating the other, or vice versa. I wanted for both. So then my goal became, okay, well then how do I build a life that allows me to do both, which is a journey, and hopefully you'll find that journey too. But I think realizing I wanted for both is number one. And then how do I balance it? I mean, that's something I'm working on this year, next year, every year. But I think you build the life for yourself. Like for years, we had a nanny at the apartment who helped us so that I could work full-time, my version of full-time. And I have an office in our home, which allows me to bounce in. Today, I'm picking up Avery from a half day. Like, I'm able to build my own schedule. But I do know that if I'm present in what I'm doing, that I will be the best version of myself. And I think inevitably there are trade-offs, right? Like, I'm not going to do everything in both worlds all the time, but like, what is the most pressing thing at this moment?
Totally. And I think everything has seasons. Like your business, I'm sure, goes through different ups and downs, like any entrepreneurial business. And then same with motherhood, or you're not always like able to do it perfectly. And I don't think that's the goal ever. I think that's, as a recovering perfectionist, what I'm learning and like really trying to just give myself a little bit of grace, that not everything's always going to be balanced, this perfect scale. Like it's always going to kind of, go back and forth and fluctuate. And I also am fortunate to have part-time help that is able to, the first year I was also breastfeeding. So having her really close to me at home was really important for me. And just being able, similar to you, like if there were days I wanted to be with her and I didn't have help, like I could easily put everything on pause for work and do it during her nap time, do it when she's sleeping, and just be present with her, which it's been a challenge more now that she's really like on the go, on the move, wants my attention 24/7, like wants to be in everything I'm doing. But it really is like a reminder to just kind of like, that stuff can wait when I am with her. And how do I kind of just separate them a bit? And I loved your post. It's like unrelated, but related to this, of the, like, that's what sparked the interest of wanting to have you on, was you talked about like stay-at-home mom versus, working mom, or whatever the term was. And I just loved that. If you want to share more about that post in depth, because I think that's what a lot of, at least people in my industry, in our industry, moms that with younger children are feeling, is that there's this pull, right? It's knowing that you said number one was that you wanted to have both. I think some people don't know that yet. Maybe they're struggling of like, oh, I don't know. I want to be a stay-at-home mom, but I also want an income. Or no, I definitely want to work, but I want flexibility. Like there's just so many nuances and different situations for every family, especially in the different seasons of the child's age and financially with the couple. So I know I've even struggled of like, what do I call myself? Like I'm not a stay-at-home mom, but I'm at home with her, but I have my own schedule. And I think not labeling it is helpful, but also I think there's so much gray area to that. And I just would love you to share about like that post and like your definition of, I guess, those different titles.
Yeah, I think what really sparked me really was social media and everybody, even I don't know if you've done one like this, but being like, oh, the constant tug between wanting to be a stay-at-home mom and wanting to be, I call it a working parent, because in my household, we both work and we both parent what feels like 100% of our capabilities at the time. I think I just wanted to put it out there that like, I'm not struggling with this battle of, oh, would it be better for my kids if they were home? Now, some people might find that controversial, and I realize they did through my messages. But the thing is, I am confident sitting here with a 2.5-year-old and 5-year-old that they go off for a day to unbelievable teachers, unbelievable schools around us. They learn more probably than I would be able to provide throughout my day if I was juggling both. Also, our household is a 2-family income household. Like that is just how we function. So to me, I think staying at home, which we did do through a couple months as we were breastfeeding, could we function on one? Absolutely. But the big, amazing life we want, we both work and we both earn. So I guess the post was just trying to say like, hi, if you're not struggling with it, like that's okay too. I'm also in a world where most of my home friends are stay-at-home mothers or have home with their kids and have a side hustle, if you will. And I guess I just wanted to say, if you are a mom that loves working and loves their path, journey, career in this season, like, hi, I do too. I absolutely love sitting at my desk every day. The work I do directly affects small business owners, women, their revenue. You know, I'm jumping for joy when they have these big wins, and I do feel like I'm impacting their life. So I love sitting at my desk. I love doing the work I do. And I guess, yeah, does that sound bad? Like, I don't struggle with it. I'm not struggling with it.
I think that's so important to also show the positive. Like, we don't always have to be so negative about like these things. Like we can also celebrate. I'm sure this also took you a long time to get to this place, maybe a different time of your life, you were questioning things. And I think earlier on in my journey, and right now I'm still kind of questioning it, but what this show's all about is that we all have desires, whether that's to be a stay-at-home mom, whether that's to homeschool, whether that's to have a business, whether that's to work a 9 to 5, like whatever that is, everyone is so unique. And I just want people to be able to own that whatever is authentic to them is then in turn authentic to their child, and in turn to, how they're going to show up. That brings you joy. And I'm sure that then is how you show up as a mom, because you're able to be present knowing, oh my God, I showed up, I did this for my client, I feel so good today. And now I can mother in a place of authenticity from like magnetism in my own joy, right?
I say
not
this,
feeling resentment.
Yes, I say this all the time, that I think, just speaking for myself, I am a better mother and a better wife and a better woman. I believe because I'll say sit at this desk. I don't really just sit at this desk. But like I show up better for my husband, I show up better for my kids, and I show up better for myself. This is just the way it works in our home. And to your point, there are other people who this would not work for, right? Like I have friends who are stay-at-home mothers who really struggle with dinner every night. Like, what am I going to make? How am I going to cook? I feel like, like me in the kitchen, I could whip up literally anything in 15, 20 minutes. I can create meals. Like that is an expertise of mine. That is a passionate of mine. So like there are stay-at-home mothers that struggle with certain things that come easier to me. I can't keep up with the laundry. I don't care how hard I try. Like that's my village. We have help. Help helps us where we need it. But like we all have these things in life that we're really good at or really not so good at. And we just build the life that makes the most sense for us. And to your point, me working and building my brand makes my family better. It makes me better for them. And I would love to talk about how it impacts my girls. I think that a couple things. There are obviously moments that kill me when we separate and the kids don't want us to go to work or don't want to have an extra call in the office. But I think the way, speaking to how we spoke at the beginning of this call, the way I speak to Avery, I'm like, I don't say things like, oh, it's okay, honey, it'll be 1 minute. Like, oh, I'll be right back. I like get to her level. I'm like, A, I love you to the moon. Mommy is working on X, whatever that X is on this call. I tell her. Now, does she understand what a pitch deck is? 3 years ago, probably not, but I told her. And when she was 2 or 3, she would sit in my lap and watch me edit videos. I would say, hey, do you want to provide notes to my editor with me? Does she actually know what that means? No, but we would watch these videos and I would tell her, like, I would teach her these things that I was doing. And so that work to her is, she'll be like, oh, mommy sits on her laptop. Like, does she actually know? But as she got older, she understood what I was doing. She would understand the impact. So many small businesses that I work with, literally, we buy their products. We use their products. We drink their teas. We read their books. We do their crafts. And it's like she understands that mommy helps these businesses. And I just think in life, that lesson is incredible. My husband and I have always included our kids in what we do. And I think as an entrepreneur, what I take away from what my girls are seeing is they know mommy helps. They know mommy does XYZ for these businesses. But I also take her to dance class on Mondays. And I also take her to piano. And I am able to show up for her regularly, but also show up for myself and teach them about what we do.
That's beautiful. I mean, I think it goes back to if you love what you do, it's not work, like that cliche saying, but like truly, like this may not be the case for somebody who is working and it's hard because they want to be with their kid or they want a job where it feels more fulfilling. But like if you love what you do, that's so important for your children to see and for them to then be like, okay, this is maybe a journey I want to take one day. So I love that you include her. I love that she's part of that. And to this conversation, like, you know, with what you do, if someone wants to be in this space, maybe they're just starting out, what would you have told yourself like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or somebody is just like, I want to create a business online. I want to work in content. I want to work in marketing. I know you have obviously your course, Own Your Brand, and all these amazing resources and ways people can work with you. But how does that typically work when you are working with clients or in group settings? What would you tell somebody?
Tell someone to like, for what I built today.
Yeah. And if they want to get into this, like maybe they're a content creator, maybe they want to, work with brands in a similar way, whether that be through video, whether that be through, what have you.
Totally.
Yeah.
I would say build an expertise, like a very specific expertise. I think if we're speaking specifically about content, I think what I see a lot in my world is brands come to me and they're like, well, I pay a social media manager X a month, but nothing's happening. Like, why are your people having results? My expertise was video production and distribution in corporate for a decade. So if I didn't have results, I didn't have a job, right? Like, or I wouldn't have grown, I should say. Maybe I still would have had a job. But like my expertise was distribution to platforms. It was on YouTube. How do we get someone to stay to 2 seconds, to 3 seconds? Then TikTok comes out. You have less than a second to capture someone's attention. What is the strategy that we can put behind business goals? So, I mean, that's what I did. And that's how I got to where I am. But like, what is your very specific expertise? Focus on that. Like, don't try to just build the biggest thing you can. Like if your expertise is photo, do photo. If your expertise is video, do video. If it is copywriting, there's so much opportunity to find production companies, media companies, social agencies where you can, as a mother, freelance off your expertise. Maybe you don't need the company right now. Maybe you can have the company in 5 to 7 years when they're in 1st or 2nd grade and you have a much longer day. But like focus on your expertise and get really, really good at that. Because if not, you will be constantly reinventing the wheel. I don't know if that's helpful. Is that helpful?
Yeah, totally. No, I think that it's like kind of like the niche thing, but like not fully always having a niche. But I think knowing your zone of genius is like the number one step because one, it necessarily doesn't have to be like what your end goal is. But I think when you're really good at something, you feel more confident and then you're able to like create that, drive to be like, okay, I'm really good at this. And even if it's not what I want to do full time or totally like down the line, I'm going to focus on it now. And I just feel like it helps kind of like put you on the path of what you can be doing.
I like what you just said. There's an entrepreneur that I follow. She had a printing company, an art company. I'll have to find it and send her to you. I'm forgetting her name. But a couple years ago, when I was kind of in your zone, before we had Skylar, after Avery was like more than just a babe, I was on her page and she talked a lot. She has 4 kids. And she was talking about how whatever you're an expert at, you will always be an expert at. And if you're raising children, like do not completely leave your industry, but know that more time will come. So you're not wasting time by not building the biggest version of yourself, kind of like I alluded to the idea that freelance off, like get paid for your expertise and keep getting better, and you could build something bigger later. But she just kind of said something that resonated with me. Like, you can always grow bigger later. And I kind of look at myself now. I mean, it's crazy, but my baby's 2.5. And I'm like, wait, I'm entering that zone. Like, I'm entering the zone now where they go off. My body's been mine for a year and a half. Like, we are likely done having kids. Like, I can now take everything I've built and been an expert in for all these years and now scale. And now that might be you after 2 kids, 3 kids, 5 kids. I have no idea. But knowing in the back of your head that like you're going to focus on your expertise and then dive in was very helpful for me on this journey of building what I have and my family.
I love that. That's great information. And yeah, I think that's really important. And I think that goes to my next question about creativity in general, because I have this theory that like very spiritual, right? And I think that sacral chakra is our creativity. It's where we are producing child. It's where we're giving birth. And so I felt this kind of block in a sense where once I had her, I kind of felt like I don't know what my thing is right now. I don't really know how I can show up creatively. And for other people, like maybe it's like sparking an interest of, oh, wow, I birthed something that I never would have had thought of before having a baby. Like, I think everyone kind of goes through different creativity moments when they have a kid, but I'm curious if anything with your creativity changed or evolved or got bigger or kind of felt blocked when you had children, like in the earlier years, and how you kind of overcome that. I know creativity goes through phases like anything else, but
Totally.
I'm curious on your experience with that.
That's a great question. You've stumped me. I think that if I'm speaking so freely, I think I had like undiagnosed postpartum anxiety with maybe both kids, definitely Avery. Avery was a COVID baby. So she was born a couple months before COVID. You know, she's barely even opening her eyes and we're locked in. And then, you know, we start seeing people and getting out, and I have a chronic illness, and there was just so much uncertainty. So I think that I had this undiagnosed postpartum anxiety that took creativity away from me for sure. It did not allow for the way that I am able to think now, much more clearly. To share that, I think it was more like I would do my work, I'd rush back to her, I'd rush back. Like that was the glass versus rubber element of my journey where everything felt like glass with Avery. And then I do think with Skylar, I do believe I'm a uber creative person, but I think with Skylar, what I ended up doing with my creativity was I did make it much more strategic. Like I knew, okay, I have 2 kids now. I have 2 personalities. You know, my marriage is growing, like everything is growing. So what I kind of did with my business is added just a lot more strategy so that my time was better used. I did start to hire a couple people, right? Like I have people on my team that help me build what I'm building so that when I do sit here, I am the most focused. So does that remove some of my creativity? Maybe, if I'm being totally honest, but it's more like structured creativity. I think if I could share this result, I feel like I am much more strategic and organized with my career where I sit now. That being said, something I worked on in 2024, and I really hope to work on more next year, is adding free time to my work hours. So like I have a treadmill literally right here. My brain opens when I'm on the treadmill. I go for walks. I mean, you live in a similar zone, but like I could walk 5 minutes and I'm looking at Manhattan. It just opens my brain, opens my mind. And I do bake those things into my work day or work week, we can say, to ensure that my brain is always processing and thinking of the next thing. Because I don't know about you, but like in corporate, the idea was like sit 9 to 5, focus on your job. And as an entrepreneur, I don't have to do that. Like I can work nights or weekends or mornings or on my walk. And so I do on purpose bake in free time to see kind of where my head goes.
That's an amazing tip. I think, like, I mean, it's similar when you're in the shower, like you get your best ideas. Like I think
yes,
time that you're out of a routine or like out of so structurally being in kind of like this mindset of, oh, I have to figure it out right now. It's like those ideas and that creativity, I feel, come from you being in surrender, in stillness, or even in more of like a heightened place where it's unrelated to work and you're just out and about. So I think that's amazing. And I think, yeah, creativity is so, again, nuanced where everyone has different terms when it comes to their creativity. And I love that you were able to give some work to other people and really focus again back on your zone of genius where it feels good for you. I think outsourcing is like really important and something I'm working on.
Well, and for entrepreneurs, like I'll even say like outsourcing at, I assume, our level of entrepreneurship is so hard to do.
It is.
For me, financially, I'm like, does this make sense? Does this make sense? And I kind of tested the waters the last 5 years, and I found like where I was stuck in the weeds that did not benefit the growth of the business. I do not need to be doing that. Like someone could do, if someone can do it better, more efficiently, or I can focus on something else, then that needs to be outsourced. So I would say to anyone in this kind of position, like test the waters. Like do a 3-month trial, do a 1-month trial, do a 20-hour trial, whatever makes the most sense for your business. But I think in most hires I've had, they all end up resulting in overall growth of my brand. And I do think it's something imperative to do, especially if you're a parent.
But it also gives you that flexibility too, right? To be with your kids. So
Totally.
I guess going to that boundary setting part, how do you kind of establish boundaries around tech, around, like you were saying, with devices when you're out? I know you treat your children more like adults, and I love that. But like, what are some tips for somebody who's like kind of relying on maybe tech right now, where they're struggling to separate this like entrepreneurial work life with the devices and their children?
Yeah, it is so hard. I mean, forget being in tech and being an entrepreneur. It is so hard to set these boundaries, right? My sister works at a hospital and she has her phone in her hand all the time, right? Like such a different world. I can share how we set boundaries. And this was also a journey. Avery wasn't just born and we were like, okay, put your cell phones down at the dinner table. Like, no, that's not how it works. Everything I'm saying is a journey. I think early on, we did know that we didn't want to just have screens in front of them all the time. I think that was something my husband and I were just aligned on. And I think I'm the one who needed to set the boundaries, not so much Stan. I feel like he never knows where his phone is. And so for me, I think it's a journey, right? Like I would be aware that, oh, I'm working now. Let me sit with Avery. Let's read books. Let's color. Let's do sensory things. I don't need my phone. And then as she would get older, there would be just like light bulbs that would happen. Like even when I was breastfeeding her at the end, Stan was like, don't bring your phone. Like enjoy those moments. Like how long is this going to last? So there were just like conversations we would have. I think that because I do work so hard, I know that it sounds like I have a perfectly balanced life. It's not. I work very hard and I work a lot. But what I've determined is that like there is never going to be an emergency when I'm with the kids for what I do. Do I check in with work? Absolutely. But like I try to make physical boundaries, like plug in my phone. I pick up the kids from school. I plug in my phone. So now it's in the kitchen. Do I go over and check it? Absolutely. I try to mute my phone so that there aren't these like alerting buzzes for the kids. Like it's things that we don't even think about. But even if your phone vibrates, it's that immediate like, oh, okay. Oh, I'll pick it up. Oh, I'll check my email. So I have my phone completely muted when I'm with them. Again, I'm not perfect, not all the time, but it just helps show them like, oh, we don't need to respond to this piece of technology when something dings, right? They literally only respond to the doorbell, because that's their noise in our home. That means someone's here. But think about that behavior. That's a learned behavior. And if my phone dinged I can't even tell you how much it would ding if I had the volume on.
I have my phone on like do not disturb to a point where it's like, it's bad. How much it's
You're answering anybody. But and like setting physical, literal boundaries with these devices is important. Now, am I being honest? This has been a crazy Q4. Have I been sitting on my laptop while my girls are doing their work? 100%. Like, that's entrepreneurship. And that's what my husband always does, is like, this is your world. He doesn't bring his work home as much.
Same with my husband.
Like he is able to really have the boundaries. But he always says, like, for you to build what you want to build, it's not possible for you not to touch it nights and weekends. So that's something I worked through therapy, being like, okay, well, I do have these big dreams and goals for myself. And I can't just have weekends and nights off every day. Like, did Martha have off every night and weekend? Absolutely not. She was catering for years. And it's like she had a little girl, but that's life. And I think just like Martha, just like myself, I am showing the girls that mommy is building something really big. It is not by any means more important than them, but it is really big and important.
I love that. And that goes to my question of like, what is the legacy you want to leave for your children? What do you hope this business is going to provide for them and their future, and how maybe they're going to show up? Have a lot of moms you work with, like with Own Your Brand courses, like you're also creating this ripple of other moms and their impact for their children. So maybe talk about that.
Yeah. I'll talk about Own Your Brand first, and then I'll answer for my kids. In Own Your Brand, 75 women have gone through it. I think the last time I looked, it was like 80% were mothers. So they're all women, 80% mothers. And part of the point of Own Your Brand is helping these businesses build social calendars, which everybody could do without me. I say all the time, use ChatGPT, try, build a 30-day content plan and follow it. The difference is we add strategy, both social strategy and distribution strategy, to our content in this program. The point of it is we use my video production skills to bulk shoot and edit things so that moms aren't on their phone every day making reels to promote the launch of a podcast. No, she already did that when they were at school or with the sitter or their father or their other parent in the house, right? So how can we batch shoot and create content so that we're not always on social is a huge part of Own Your Brand. And then the rest is like the strategy behind a content plan is just making sure your time is used most efficiently when it comes to content planning, shooting, editing, and delivering. I have some moms who are just on a Loomly or a scheduler, and that works best for them. And then I tell them which ones they do have to post manually, like for the feed for specific reasons. So Own Your Brand not only works with mothers, but literally helps them save time to be with their kids more. That I want to say, and is so important.
That is amazing. Like, I need this. What I struggle with is like, I'll get these creative moments and I kind of like go in waves where I want to be, editing them and creating them. But I'm like, I don't want to be like, I notice myself doing it when I'm with Stevie. I'm like, no, like I need to say this for later, but then maybe I'm not going to be as creative. I love the idea of the batching. Like, I think that's so helpful.
Yeah. I mean, you should for sure be doing that. And I think a lot comes in just like, are you planned in advance? If you can pre-plan and know like when the podcast launching, like I would challenge you and be like, okay, where are we 14 days out of the podcast? Like, what's the plan? Creating that. The energy will flow if you can strategically plan when you want that session to create. So that is a huge thing for me. I just had this unbelievable video with Google, and I talk about the fact that like working with mothers is my top priority, because what I build for myself, I do believe is a goal for a lot of mothers. Now, not every mother needs to work or have a career, but a small business owner needs to be able to sell her product or service, sell her story, but also show up for her family. Legacy for my kids, I just think, if anything, it's like that anything is possible. Something I tell both of my girls, 2.5 and 5, all the time is like, you can do anything. We can figure anything out. Something breaks, as you'll learn with Stevie in the next 6 months, she'll get upset. And it's like, no, we can figure anything out. And I really, first of all, I believe that to my core. We've been hit with highs and lows of life for 10 years together. And there's nothing we haven't solved as a couple. There's nothing we haven't solved. And that just in general in life is something I want to teach my children. Stan says all the time, like in life, things happen, bad things happen, good things happen. And it's acknowledging both sides all the time. When things are really good, we acknowledge this is life. We're at a high. But I think preparing mentally for positives and negatives helps us get through the journey of life. And so when it comes to my business, anything's possible. Like I have a very small business, a hair clip accessories company with one of my best friends. We built it because we were spending far too much money on hair clips that the bows would fall off or the headbands would hurt their heads. Or my daughters have really fine hair. They would just flip right out of their hair.
Yeah.
And so we built a line of hair clips and headbands. And part of our mission as entrepreneurs was the girls being involved. They come to the markets with us. They sell the product. They help design. They pick colors. They style in the shoots. My friend's son takes the pictures when he's at the shoots with us. Like, part of this journey for this business, while it is doing very well and we're very proud of it, is really like showing our kids anything is possible. You say you want a pink heart clip, let's make it. Let's see how it looks. Do we like the color? Should we change it? And these are lessons that how many 5-year-olds are getting?
No, not at all. Like, they're in school learning all the things that, are great to have, but they're not learning these entrepreneurial skills or these like things that you can go after your passion. And I was similar to you, where like I was always entrepreneurial. I always wanted something. And I think our generation's a little bit different. Like, we didn't have these parents or like these tools we have now where it's showing that it's okay. So I love that you're doing that, because, we have a lot of limiting beliefs that we're unpacking as adults in this industry and as working parents in general. But I think if we're able to give our children the space to mess up, the space to try things, and just to go after it, and permission to just like try things, I think that's the most valuable thing that you can give.
Yeah. Like if we can show them with what you're doing, with what I'm doing, I think the hair clip company is a much more literal example of us showing them anything is possible, but we love doing that. And we love teaching we have collectively 4 kids together. But I think, same with what I'm doing here, like anything's possible. Own your brand didn't always exist. I was consulting for one-on-one businesses for the last 8 years. I one day came home and I'm like, why am I not doing this in a group? Because I realized client after client, I'm like, oh, Alyssa has the same problem as Lauren, and Lauren has the same problem as Lucy. Like, why are they not all together?
Yeah.
And honestly, I told my husband, I told my best friend, and I was like, okay, I'll just build it. And then I had all these limiting beliefs. I'm like, oh, everybody has a course right now. Nobody needs to learn from me. I would get feedback from people, and I was like, no, we don't need to do this. And then I said, okay, what's the worst? I help 1 or 2 people. I'm going to do it. And the impact, I think starting something, no matter if it's going to fail or succeed, and just believing in it is more power than, I don't know, some people put out in a whole lifetime. Like just saying, I believe in myself, I'm willing to try is such a great example as well. And just like anything's possible. What's the worst? Nothing happens, something happens. And obviously in my case, it's definitely built tremendous impact and results. And I tell my girls about it like all the time. I show them the videos on the phone of some of these women on Black Friday selling 75 orders, boxes stacked to the archway. And I say, like, that's marketing, like the way she positioned herself, the way she showcased her product, who she worked with, I don't know.
I love that. And I mean, you have 2 different jobs and 3 jobs. You're a mother, you have your branding, and then you have this fun hair clip accessory, which I'm totally going to be getting because I'm in the phase of trying to get hair clips on her and she's just pulling them out. So like, when does that get over? Because I'm like ready for her to just keep them in.
Okay, to be honest, you just have to keep putting them in.
Keep doing it. Yeah.
You do not put them in, she will never. This sounds terrible. This is like manipulative, but I really just kept putting them in. I kept putting them in. We would put them in my hair. We would put them in Stan's hair. And again, we had girls who like barely had hair even past their first birthday.
Same.
Stevie's like that.
Right? She has the most awkward hair where like it's in the back and I'm trying to like give her pigtails and then it's like she pulls them out and then her hair is everywhere and I'm like, okay, well. Okay.
No, literally we had this. I think both girls on their first birthday had alfalfa. Is that what it is? Like alfalfa sprout.
Love
and
it.
It's funny. My husband's like Russian and has the thickest hair. And I feel like I have thick hair and they just both have blonde, fine hair. I'm like, whose children are these? We always laugh. We're like, well, they didn't swap our kids because they look the same. So at least we got our kids. They just are not us.
They're adorable now. They're
just
so
have to
cute.
keep doing headbands and class. Keep doing it. She'll eventually get used to it. Put them in your hair. She'll get used to it.
Okay. That's a good tip. All right. I'm going to end with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
One mom product that you currently like a fixation or that you can't live without.
Okay. Is my skincare routine one or my treadmill?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Let's say treadmill. I have upped my walking this year, my treadmill.
I love that. I feel like that goes into self-care. Would you say that's like really self-care for you as well?
100%. And the girls see me do it. Like I come into the office, I shut the door, they'll peek in. They know it's like dangerous. They have to stay away. But I'm always like, mommy needs her 2 miles or 30 minutes. Obviously Sam's with them. But like they see me being healthy, which I think is important as well.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, Stevie's just starting to see me like do workouts and meditate. Like she meditates with me and I taught her energy and we rub our hands together. And I think just like these little micro moments like really make an impact on them. Even if a practice isn't what it used to be, like I'm getting it in a little bit at least.
And she will really surprise you if you keep including her in the next couple of years. She'll invite you to do it. Like, trust me,
believe that.
She will lead the way if you keep teaching her.
Yeah, I love that. And then, okay, what is one thing you would tell your past self before becoming a mom, just about motherhood, or just a tip that you could go back and tell yourself, even in the early stage of momhood?
Everything is a phase. Everything in motherhood and being a child is a phase. The hardest moments pass. The best moments pass. Everything is a phase. I have the chills. Everything is a phase.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in that right now where it's feeling hard, but I remember she used to not sleep well and that was a phase and now she sleeps. Like I keep coming back to that of like, this is so temporary and it's such a blip on her radar of our life together. And, it's such good reminders.
This is why I firmly believe that second children are a little more easygoing because the parent is more experienced. Like Skylar's phases did not impact us at all, very little, because we knew it was going to be a week. We knew the nap transitions or the hard parts. Okay, it's a week here or there. Like, we're all going to be fine. I think with the first, the parents, not all the time, but we, at least I'll speak for us, were anxious if the nap transition or the swaddle transition or stopping breastfeeding, like what was going to happen? And with Sky, I'm like, oh, she will literally be fine in 3 days. And that's just her total demeanor. She just gets back up and keeps walking.
I love that. No, it's so true. I feel like the second when I have one, I'll definitely be more. I'm pretty chill, I would say. Like, I've surprised myself how chill I actually am, but I definitely think like those transitional moments and phases will be easier for me to not like be so stuck in them, knowing they're so.
As a phase.
I love that. Okay, where can everyone find you? Do you have anything coming in the pipeline for 2025 that you want to share about? And just, where can we learn more?
I love that. Well, on Instagram, I'm Lauren Magenta. And I, as you can imagine, share my everyday in my life. The next round of Own Your Brand, and it's 10 female entrepreneurs. So anyone who owns a brand, whether you are the brand, you sell a product or a service, the 10 women plus myself, we build your social plan, we add strategy. And this is the 6th round of it. It's so unbelievable that I've done this. Is going to be my 6th round. But we are currently enrolling that. So DM me or shoot me an email or book a discovery call and we can chat about your business.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Thank you for being part of the club. I'm so happy you're here.
I love that I'm part of the club. Thank you for having me.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.